I just wanted to actually ask you a little bit about your new sort of professional life, so with the brewery life, just because we haven't touched on that very much. And I'd love to hear a little bit more just about how you kind of got into this, what's happening and you know, where you're going with it, because I feel like we haven't heard that much on it.
Yeah, no problem. So it would be criminal not to speak about it because I have fallen in love with it so deeply. It's ridiculous. So yeah, wine, utter waste of time. So after my accident, I just did get pretty sad about that. It just makes you feel grown up, doesn't it? Going out for a nice meal and having a Coke, no thanks. And then we were over in Bristol one day, and the brewery scene over there is amazing, but I wasn't really aware of it at all. So there's a brewery called the Left-Handed Giant, and they have the most amazing building right down on the waterfront. Finzel's Reach, it's called. And it used to be like a sort of grain store or something where barges would pull out the front. Anyway, huge building, front, totally cut open on a million floors, so beautiful. And I'm left-handed, and so are three of my kids. So we thought, let's go in there. We could see there were pool tables. All the beers had stupid names, picked one with a stupid name, drunk it, and I'm not even kidding. I started crying because of the mouthfeel of it and a sort of oaty, delicious maltiness that it had. I could taste it more than anything I'd tasted since my accident. And it was in the most banging glassware and it looked a bomb. It was all hazy and beautiful. Everyone around me looked cool. It was amazing, had beautiful music. And I just thought, what is this world? This is brilliant. Anyway, cut a long story short, kept trying all these similar sort of hazy New England IPAs, blah, blah, blah. Found out there's actually a gazillion different types of beer in the world. So just tried them all, but loved it so much. And then the more I found out about it, it is so similar to where all my skills and expertise lay in the oil industry and any sort of fluid mechanics, process engineering that I'd done on oil rigs and what have you, but in a way cooler way because it's not destroying the planet and I can drink it at the end. But also, things I thought I'd never say. I used to hate exams, they're a necessary evil. The idea of studying a process and an industry to make me better at it was so enticing that I've gone down the very hardest route, which is to become a cicerone. So it's like a sommelier, but in the beer world. And there is so much to learn. It's ridiculous, but I love it because it's learning about an industry that I love, but also I love sitting an exam and passing it with this duff old brain. It's really satisfying and just sort of makes you think, right, still got it. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, as well as loads of home brewing. But I also engage massively with the community. So I go to loads of the breweries in Bath, Bristol, London, wherever. And just, it's like a stage that you do in a restaurant. I mostly don't get paid at all, get paid an hourly wage to but just to be there on the brew deck, learning through doing and asking a gazillion questions whilst training for my exams, and then going to lots of there's a thing called the Brewer's Journal, and they do all sort of conferences and lectures on this sort of thing where you just go and learn, learn, learn. And then I do loads of homebrewing at the moment on an 80 litre brew kit that I bought off eBay, but I managed to get an amazing bargain because I know all that stuff. So the guy selling it didn't know what on earth it was. He'd inherited it from his granddad. So I've cobbled that all together and I do loads of homebrewing and trying all different styles and what have you. So yeah, that's my dream now, is to own my own microbrewery and tap room because I'm so community driven, always have been. I want somewhere where my family, my friends, my kids feel safe and we can create this wonderful community. But to make the hospitality industry is on its knees at the moment. So you don't make things work if you're just a brewery and your USP is I make the best beer. It doesn't mean anything. Every brewery does. So you need to have an amazing branding, an amazing message, but you also have to have community events. Most breweries now have a running club and a book club and a games night and open mic. So all of that will just suit me and my family, that we can work hard, but we can have a comedy night hosted by me. We can have, yeah, a running club. We can have weekends that you get food trucks in and families are welcome and all this sort of thing. So yeah, that's kind of my dream for the future really. So
We're there.
I'm
I'm there. Sign
hoping,
me up.
Yeah.
Customer
honestly, it'll be
there.
so Honestly, it'd be so cool. My uni mates that were in like a little WhatsApp group the other day, they said, "Oh, how much is your beer?" I said, "At the moment, completely free because I need people to try it and give me feedback." And he said, "Yeah, but how about once the tap room opens?" And I said, "Oh, still free to friends." He was like, "Well, you'll go bust then." I was like, "No, because I haven't got any friends anymore."
Do you remember when I said we want to be your friends? That was before the offer for free beer, but that
I
definitely still stands.
genuinely
Yeah.
Ben's
getting
there.
really good at it. But one of the things I love so much about the brewing industry is, in other worlds, you would not collaborate with other people. Like Coke aren't going to collaborate with Pepsi because they want to keep it all secret. There are so many, everyone shares knowledge in this industry so much. And also, if a bit of kit goes down, or your canning line breaks, or you're short of some mold, everyone just shares because they all want each other to be a success. And
Mm.
everyone is so kind. And no one cares that I've got a squish brain, that I'm 46, that I've got 4 kids, that I haven't been in the industry very long, that I can't drive. No one cares about that. They care that I'm interested and I'm hardworking. That is what makes it a great place to be. The only thing about me that they think is weird is that I can't smell, because the brewing process smells amazing.
Mm.
And so much of like the exams I have to pass, so much of it is taste testing and things. And I am missing a huge level with the lack of smell. But can pick up off flavors. A lot of it is visual as well. So if I pass my next exam, I'm the world's only certified cicerone. So I've passed the first exam, but to be properly certified, I've got to pass the next one. And there's no anosmic person in the world that's even thought of doing it, never mind passed it. So yeah, it's a weird thing to be known for, but it sounds fancy. An anosmic cicerone.
That's amazing. And the last thing I want to ask about, because we said in the intro, this line, "If life knocks you down, stand up." We've touched on it, but stepping onto the comedy stage, obviously that's the first time I encountered you doing stand-up comedy. How scary was that? Like, because I feel
Um,
like there's nothing scarier than stand-up comedy.
It's kind of, when I used to be in oil and gas, I used to do lots of conferences, but genuinely speaking about subsea pipeline integrity management. So you do not want the after lunch shift because everyone is asleep. So I would always
Do you
try and
want
drop
any
in.
shit? Do you want any shift talking about that?
Um, well, I put all my effort into trying to make it a bit more fun, but it was tricky. But so that was always the way I would try and stand out from the crowd a bit, by being the one that was a little bit more memorable. So when I was feeling a bit sad after my accident, I thought, well, why not? I want to get back up there and just sort of give it a try. Also, the remembering a set is helpful. I've got really visual memory, so I write all my notes. Look, I was doing something for my next thing. Look, I write notes and then highlight different bits of it. Pretty
Amazing.
rock and roll look, because then I can see it in my brain when I'm on stage. And that's again really positive to know that I can still do that even late at night. So yeah, I do I really enjoy it. So when it was the heat wave the other week, and so my kids' school that has air conditioning shut down. I don't know why they think it's going to be any colder at home, or that I've got any time to spend with them.
They
So
just
when
wanted a
the
day off. Like, let me tell you.
Honestly, it was ridiculous. So when my children, the twins teacher said, "How are you going to cope?" And I just said, "It's okay. I've got one of those big American freezers, so I'm going to put Kitty in the fridge and Vaughan in the freezer." And she went, "Well, how is that fair?" And I said, "Because I'm going to swap them at lunchtime." This is so stupid. But I did make a really cheesy joke when I was doing a gig last week. I said, so the NHS is being really burdened with all this terrible heat wave at the moment. So there just aren't enough staff. But it's okay, because I was in a rough part of Bristol last week and it said pickpockets operating in this area. So we're all okay. Look, they can take some of the burden.
Oh my
Well, and also,
God.
have you seen at the football that after a match now, they're all singing Wonderwall to the team? Now, I hate Oasis, but that is very, very emotional. So when I had to make some kiddies jokes for a school presentation I did last week, I said, yeah, ever since seeing that, I keep singing Oasis all the time. And in the end, my kid said, Mum, will you stop singing Wonderwall? And I said, maybe. Gonna go so cheesy for the kids, honestly.
Oh,
I said, since my accident, one of the weird things, other than epilepsy, anosmia, tiredness, allergies to all sorts of vegetables and garlic and blah blah blah. I said, I can't stop singing Tom Jones all the time. So I had to say to my neural scientist guy, my neurologist, had to say, all this weird Tom Jones stuff. How rare is that? And he said, it's not unusual.
Oh my gosh.
I promise I'm so much better than this late at night, but I don't want to drop an F bomb.
No, I've heard your late at night, your read stuff. Yeah, and I can attest to that. Look,
Oh, I like these anyway. I'm enjoying them. I love the cheesy ones. They're the best.
These are good ones for the kids. This is totally fine. And yeah, I must admit, my son really giggles at the one about my niece wanted a pregnant Barbie doll for her birthday. And I said, I'm sorry, my love, you can't get a pregnant Barbie doll because Ken comes in a different box. Because you can tell little kids that because they just don't get it. They just go, oh, yeah, he does. You can't really get one in Argos when they're in the same one.